Here's our first question all the way over on the right.
Thank you. Where are you?
He's over here on the right.
Sorry. Hello.
Hi. First of all, they didn't tell us about daylight savings.
Yeah, we're a bit foggy, so bear with us.
I noticed, well, in the past year, there were two Hensons died, sadly, Jane and John. I'm wondering if there are any Hensons still involved in the Muppets, and how, whether or not you're able to connect with the original vibe, or how you do that.
Yeah, well, I know that Lisa and Brian have seen the movie and love it, which is always very important to me, because obviously of Jim's huge legacy to us. And certainly on the first movie, when we were filming in Los Angeles, Brian came to set twice, and he and I talked about making Muppet movies. In fact, he and I are now the only people who've ever done 2 Muppet movies, so I share that with him. So his opinion to me is obviously very important. On this one, it was harder because we're in London, so I didn't see him this time, but I know he's a fan of the movie, so I'm thrilled by that.
In the center.
Hello.
Good morning.
Shakio.com. This question is for all of you. What was it like going out there and doing it a second time, considering that, it's, you know what to do this time around? It's not going to be as difficult.
I thought, let's make it harder.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Let's make an action comedy musical movie.
Yes. And also, what was it like dealing with just working with the Muppets second time around, especially Miss Piggy? I know she's rather demanding.
She gets no easier, I'll tell you that. No, it was great. It's so fun. If you know people, it's so much more fun working with them, because it's like your family back together again. It's really lovely, and so it was so pleasing to see them all. It's like being here again today. I haven't seen them for a while, so it's nice to see everybody again. It's lovely. But no, it was just, it was fun to see everyone again, and I was very clear in my head as to what we'd like to do next, and it's why the movie starts seconds after the last one ended. Because I felt the Muppets could kind of address the problem that Nick and I had, kind of like, what is the film going to be about, and what's next? And I thought, well, let's just address that and do it in the movie itself. So you have this scene where they go, what should we do next? And then they sing a song called We're Doing a Sequel, which Bret so brilliantly wrote, and it kind of addresses that issue up front, So, all the cards out straight away. So.
Second row.
Dawson, front row features. Great sequel.
Thank you.
Brett, I had a question for you about the music. Coming up with the songs, I noticed one of the songs was We're Doing It Again. Was the original title for the film going to be The Muppets Again? Or was it always going to be Muppets Most Wanted? And did you think about putting Most Wanted in?
The film was originally called Muppets, The Muppets Again.
Well spotted.
And so the first song, We're Doing a Sequel, ends with the Muppets all singing, "It's the Muppets again," because we thought it would be great to, the song to have the title of the movie in it. But then, well after we'd filmed it all, marketing decided to change the name of the movie, and so we tried going, "It's the Muppets Most Wanted," and it really didn't sit very well in the mouths of the Muppets, so we let it go.
But well spotted.
All the way in the back.
Yes, if you could talk about the logistics of filming on these different locations, and also for Bret about the music, try to incorporate it with Spain and Berlin kind of sound and all that good stuff. If you could talk about that.
Sure. Muppet films are never easy to film because Muppets have no legs. You may not notice this, but they have no legs. So things get very complicated wherever you go. So it's easier indoors. So you'll notice that a lot of work now is on stage. But what I love about Muppets in the real world is they live in the real world, and you create this sense there's a world out there whereby Muppets and humans happily coexist, which is my favourite thing. I think it's an illusion we all want to believe in. So on location, we always have to, the puppeteers perform on the ground. We have to raise things like door handles and various things like that to help us out. So it's all quite technically complex. But on stage, it's very straightforward because we then just raise the entire set 4 feet up in the air, and the cameras come up 4 feet in the air, and the puppeteers themselves can then stand up, because that means they can kind of group together as closely as possible. It means you can have nice group shots rather than being all far apart. So there's lots of challenges when you're filming Muppets, but and the days can be very long. But at the end of the day, you look around and you see these incredible characters behind you in a hole, and it's just really fun. It's a fun place to be, and it's kind of why it's so fun for the cameos. They come on set and they meet these characters they've loved all their lives, and it's just a lovely moment for them. And so it's a very pleasurable experience for everybody. It really is.
It would be fun to see a Muppet film where you saw all the guys crawling around on the floor.
Yeah.
If the movie screen could lower down and you could see underneath the shot, it would be great.
Yeah. You were like showing our workings out, So
Second row.
Oh, Bret, it was great to see Jermaine in the movie. And I want to ask you, related to that, about the cameos, which you mentioned. Were there people that you specifically went out to get them in the film? Were people coming to you? And how did you incorporate the balance out the cameos with the people who were actually playing full-on roles? Because Jermaine's role more than a cameo.
He's a part, I think. It's a part, not a cameo. When Nick and I write the script, we're writing people's names in often. And obviously certain people have to be that person. Like, you can't do the Christoph Waltz joke with anybody else, because it is about a waltz, so that's impossible.
But that one actually came, I think that one was reverse engineered in a way.
Maybe,
because
yeah.
a lot of the cameos, we have a list of people who want to be in the movie, and then as we kind of go through, as these guys go through writing the movie, we gather other intel of fans and people we like and people that like us, and then we kind of do this
Intel,
grid.
meaning just Google them. Google celebrity and Muppet.
A full-on background check. And Christoph Waltz specifically was one where he was a massive fan of the first movie and really wanted to be a part of this one. And so that joke was reverse engineered. But there's so many people who love the Muppets, and it's an interesting matrix to put together to figure out where people go correctly and how to fit all the people that love in the movie, which hopefully we've accomplished.
A lot of people approached me just in the street and asked if they could be in the movie. And more often than not, I got them in there. One of them was Lady Gaga. So.
In the front row here.
Okay, first of all, congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Another very well done job, as I think Todd already knows. He got my
Thank
email.
you.
If he got my email this morning.
I thought you meant by the look on his face.
He always knows.
But one of the really impressive elements of this film are all of the touchstones you have to classic old Hollywood, classic film.
Thank you.
Busby Berkeley and Arthur Freed are jumping up and down somewhere right now,
Good.
doing a two-step.
Yeah.
Was this a conscious decision in terms of the musical construction and in terms of the visual palette? Because you've got Kelly's Heroes, you've got Pink Panther references, and of course the standard MGM musicals with the proscenium at the beginning.
Sure.
So how did you go about developing those aspects of the film?
Well, for me personally, I always believe that Muppets have a great place in entertainment history. They kind of live in that world. The Muppet Show is set in an old theatre and it really works for them. So generally, I love the idea of making a movie with a huge number of references and just movie tropes, of course, just things that you remember from other movies. And it feels that it plays so well for them that when we put this together, I just love the idea you have this leeway to do that. And it's very rare to have the chance to do that, make reference to the movies you love. And that's what I want to do with this film and throughout the whole thing. Like you see, Fozzie and Walter in the desert is like a David Lean shot, and the kind of idea that we have Swedish Chef and the Seventh Seal. Like that's a great thing you couldn't do in most movies. It's just really fun. But it's very much a conscious choice. But also because I feel that, as I said, Muppets live in that kind of great entertainment history world. That when you do a musical number, it kind of has to be Busby Berkeley. Like why not? Because it's something I've always loved, and Muppets is the perfect excuse to try it out. So we talked about the idea, and that the brilliant song that Bret wrote fitted so well with that. It just worked out well.
It was such a golden age for musicals as well. So I guess those years are so influential on us now because what they did with the videos and the films for the musical numbers. I'm jealous of that time, and it seemed like the actors spent most of the time doing dancing and singing lessons, and then they'd come on set and know all their moves, and they could all sing as well. Whereas now you're dealing with actors who can't dance or sing, but think they can.
But we love them.
But they're great, great in other ways.
Fourth row.
Hi guys, good morning and congratulations. Playing off of following up on the question about the cameos, given the location at the end of the movie, was there an attempt to get anyone from the royal family? And also for each of you, what was a criticism, hopefully a constructive criticism from the first film that each of you really took to heart and wanted to apply this time around?
That's a good question.
We tried to get the young prince to be one of the babies, but they never responded.
Not available.
They never responded.
We find a lot of time.
I mean, the first, we had an amazing time on the first film, obviously, and I think with the idea of being able to set up and reset a little bit, that this movie for us was the ability to just kind of go a little wilder. And so it's not a criticism, anything that we've learned necessarily, other than the kind of ability to have more fun. And so hopefully this movie showcases the wackiness that the Muppets embody, but also maintaining still the heart that we had in the first movie.
Yeah, but there's also the chance, because in the last movie, remember, we had to try to put the gang back together again. So, but this time you have everybody from the very beginning. So I guess in some ways it feels like there's more Muppets in it. I don't know. I mean, does it?
By the way, that's another good point, because the first movie, the emotional story was centered around a human being and a Muppet that we created whole cloth, whereas this movie, the emotional story centers around the Muppets.
Yeah, which, you love.
First row here.
Hi, my question is for Bret. When constructing these songs, did you feel an added pressure to follow up the Oscar-winning Man or a Muppet?
Yes.
Or do you feel
Yeah, but what can you do? Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure, and I at my piano at home, I have the Oscar sits on my piano, so occasionally I'll be working away and look, oh God, that's not good enough. But then I moved to LA to work on the songs, and we hired a space on Hollywood Boulevard, an old shop, and I put a piano in there. It was like a sort of dusty old shop to hide away and work on these songs. And these guys came and visited to listen to the demos, and it was quite a funny scene because people would be walking by hearing me hitting away, playing the piano, and occasionally they'd walk in and there's is there music lessons going on in here? Or, what is this? Is this some sort of art installation? But yeah, that's right.
It was like a strip mall.
Yeah, it was literally a strip of stores, and there was like a clothes shop and a dry cleaners, and then in the middle of it was Bret's weird shop. We had no the old sign.
We like to call it Muppet Solutions.
Yeah, literally, it was very weird. The shop window was still right there, so you could just see Bret at the back of the room just playing his piano as you walk in on this kind of shop. It was very strange.
There was nothing in there other than a piano in the back of the room and a little couch, and you could go in there and think either you're going to get killed or you're going to hear some music. So we all sat in there.
It felt like contemporary art to me.
Yeah. And I had, having worked on the first film, Kermit sent me a Kermit phone, which is a direct line to him. So
Have you got that?
if he wanted, once you've worked on the Muppets, we all have these.
Yeah, I have one of these in my house too.
It's like the bat phone.
What's the number?
He just calls me direct.
It's just one.
What is it?
Yeah, he flashes green.
It's numeric Kermit, I guess, 5-3, whatever that is. Yeah, he calls up and says, I need a song, a finale, can you work on that, please?
In the front row here on the right.
Hi. When I was at the screening a couple of nights ago, a lot of the parents were laughing just as hard, if not harder, than the kids. Especially, like you mentioned, the references to the Seventh Seal. How was it to balance adult references with jokes that kids would get to?
It's one of the challenges of this film is that it has to be for everybody for me. Because I remember watching the Muppet Show in the 70s, and it was a thing I watched with, I was 6 or 7, and my dad watched it with me, and my grandparents watched it with me, and we were all laughing throughout, but I think we're probably laughing at different things. And it's kind of what we're trying to do with this film too, whereby I now have children of my own, and so I watch with my daughter, and she laughs her head off, and I laugh my head off, but again, probably different things. And so it's that thing where we were trying to do both things at the same time throughout. And so for me, it's about multi-layering the story and multi-layering the jokes on top of visuals and creating something which bears repeat viewing. That's my other huge thing about it. I love making a movie you watch again and again and again, because kids watch things a lot. My kids wear out the movies they love, and they watch them again, and there's no kind of limit to how many times they can watch it. And I love that idea that if you build something with enough depth and texture, you can watch it again and again and again, and see new things every time, and that's very important.
But the idea is, and from the beginning, we always set out to not make a movie for kids, but make a movie for everybody that kids also loved. And so if we laughed, we knew it would appeal to us, and then we also have kids, so we could kind of use them as a test audience.
In fact, I did. My kids are always my test audience. I take home the dailies and show them what we've been filming that day. Hence, in the last movie, there's a lot of chickens. They love chickens. The chickens being in the theatre was literally my daughter's favourite thing. And this time, she loves the Benson babies, the accomplices, the weird babies. And she's obsessed with them. So I kept saying, keep the babies. They're amazing. Keep the babies. We love the babies.
And I knew we had something good, too, with the interrogation song that Bret wrote. When I brought home the demo, and both my kids had commandeered my computer, figured out my password, got into it, we're listening to the songs, and we're jumping around and jumping on the couches and quoting that exact song. And so
Yeah, I think the children of Hollywood are more influential than the parents.
That's true.
All the way over on the left side.
Hi, guys. There you have a great self-referential joke with Robin the Frog. And I'm wondering, even now, 2 movies in, are you still struggling to figure out how to squeeze in?
There's a lot of
this
people
one?
here, a lot of people in the room, you know, it's hard. Because of course we have such a huge family of fantastic people to involve, and this time we brought people back like Annie Sue and Mildred Hucksteder and Pops, people I haven't used in the last movie, but there's still more people out there, you know, and so Robin was just one of those guys I always liked, but I don't know where he's going to put him. And so I thought that was a good joke, because obviously Rizzo wasn't in the last movie very much. So if Rizzo talks about it, Robin should also talk about it. And I love that little moment. He just said that's it for him in the whole movie. But
And while we were in pre-production, Rizzo the Rat sent us a video, basically begging to be in the film.
yeah,
And
it kind of worked. So that's a tip to other Muppets out there. Send me the video if you ask me to be in the movie. I can sort it out for you. It's no problem.
Don't want that.
In the back center.
Yeah, my question is, how did you pick the cities and also Siberia? As I'm kind of wondering, the frog usually sleeping in the winter time,
Sure.
cold weather. And
Good
sleeping
question.
So that kind of reminds me of the Cold War because you
Yeah.
picked Siberia.
Yeah. Well, the basic rule about Europe in this movie is a bit like Europe from National Lampoon's European Vacation. It's like old movie trope version of what Europe is. So in a movie from the 80s, the bad guy would be a Russian. And the Constantine character for me was, I talked to Matt about this, is always kind of based on General Orlov from Octopussy. That's my favourite Russian guy. And so I thought that would be a funny character for Kermit's doppelganger to sound like. And so it just because this movie kind of feels like it's of that era, sort of 60s through 70s through 80s, that those places, those films are always set like Monte Carlo or like Montevideo or Buenos Aires. So I thought Berlin and Madrid and London was such a fun kind of, that's the sort of feel those places have to me. So I felt that's kind of perfect for a caper movie, to have international locations like that.
It's a classic Cold War comedy.
Sure.
Here on the left.
Hi, I was wondering what were some of your inspirations when creating this story?
Well, it's kind of, personally I've always liked movies about big diamonds, Pink Panther and Thomas Crown Affair and
You just like diamonds.
I just like diamonds. Yeah,
It's getting tough to get
I
them
just
on
like
screen.
diamonds on screen. No, I've always found those films really interesting, and they have a good energy about them, which I like about it. And also because they are a genre of movies. Again, I was going back to the same thing about Muppets having this great sense that they can kind of own genres and refer to them and be part of them themselves. And you can, they've done classic Dickens novels. Why not do film genres? And so. That was certainly inspiration, but also the idea that in the last movie I really loved the bits where we could do bits of the Muppet Show, like just squeeze them in there. So I thought, why not do a world tour? We can keep putting the Muppet Show out again and again and again. And so you can combine kind of Muppet Show elements with this kind of caper-style story, and that's our film, and that's kind of where we are. And then the doppelganger, again, I think is just a kind of classic old movie trope. You have a guy who looks like, because obviously Kermit is the most beloved frog in the world. So the simple thought was, what if there was a bad version of this guy? And that's it, And then Matt created this brilliant character, and the rest is history, as they say.
Front row.
Hi. I wanted to know, how did the partnership with Vivienne Westwood come about with Piggy's dress? Did she come to you, or was that written in right away?
Yeah, she was. She's been a massive fan forever, and even on the first film, and she approached us collectively, and it just kind of happened that way.
And it felt very appropriate being in London, filming in London. She's so iconically British, I thought it's really fun. And she's fantastic, and it suits Piggy so well. Dresses.
And I guess her sense of style too, which is
kind of interesting.
not conventional,
Yeah.
but really
Be careful,
great.
be careful what you say here.
Much like how Bret dresses.
In the back corner.
Hi, right here in the back. Fabian Winter for Latin America. I have a question for the director. We recognize the famous guest, but there are two guests that you invited that we don't know, and your parents are there. So what's
How do you know that?
Well, it's in the notes.
Okay. How do people know my parents are?
But what, could you tell about that scene and how we
That's
could
funny.
recognize
Well,
it?
they happen to be. Look, I live over here. I've been here for 10 years, so my parents I see fairly occasionally, but not that often. So I was filming in London, so I saw them pretty much every day. And so they happened to be on set one day, and I said, "We're doing a scene with the crowd, and we have a spare hat, so please go in and enjoy." So if you watch Frank Langella, I believe, delivering the line about that window's only 800 years old, you can see my mum reacting behind Frank Langella with a hat and doing her best acting. It's very good, very good. Yeah, the wedding. Yeah. So it's the blonde lady behind Frank is my mum. But yes, that's supposedly a secret. Apparently not. No, apparently
One of the
not.
surprise cameos.
Yeah, my mum, exactly. Yeah.
And we have time for just one last question here on the right.
This is a question for Mr. McKenzie and I guess Mr. Bobin as well. I was wondering how closely you guys work together on the songs and sort of finding the right tone and finding the right sort of fit for the storyline.
Very closely. I mean, we worked together for nearly 10 years now, so it's such a joy working with Bret because I have an idea and he's kind of ahead of me on it all the time, and it's very much a back and forth, whereby often it'll start with a title or a funny idea we have for a song and a placeholder in the script, and that's all it is, just like a title and a kind of brief description. And then from that paragraph, I'll give it to Bret, and Bret will come back with this amazing song and go, yeah, that's it, perfect, thank you very much, let's do something else now. You know, it's like that, it's that good. And it's very rare that he delivers something I don't like. You know, it doesn't happen that often.
No, occasionally, but yeah, there's a bit of back and forth. So James and Nick would come up with the idea, usually, or the moment in the film that needs a song, and then they'd throw it to me. Like, so the opening was, we're doing a sequel was the idea, and they had some ideas of had some good lines. Like they often suggest lines that don't rhyme, which which is not that helpful.
We're doing a sequel. It costs twice as much and it's half as good.
And,
didn't make it.
And so I just play around with it, and I guess try to combine the idea for the song, and also make it a song that works by itself. You know, which is the kind of challenge. And then play it back to them, usually just on piano, with me singing, doing my now quite extensive catalogue of Muppet impressions, and
he's really good now.
I
Really
can
good.
do Miss Piggy. I can do Miss Piggy quite well.
Come
on, guys! It's Sunday morning. Okay, here we go. So it's at the piano. How can something so right? So I mean, which is an absolutely ridiculous job. That's my weird career.
On the new soundtrack CD, there are the demo versions of Bret himself sings.
Oh, there are, yeah.
And they're really great.
Some of them you can't even tell.
The Muppets can tell. Yeah, horrified.
I said you.
Then I play a sort of rough version, then we get together and work out the bits that James often has an idea that's visual that he needs to change the lyric to suit the visual, and then we sort of record it with the Muppets. Yeah. So there's lots of back and forth, and it's fun. I might suggest a visual idea. Like I love that there's the ballads which Piggy sings with Celine, and I was working on that, and I had this idea that what if we had this flashback, this sort of dreamy, moment where Piggy is sort of thinking about her future, and she sees her with Kermit growing old, and she pulls out, a little. Basically, I thought it'd be fun to have a little pink frog and a little green pig, and it was an idea that was around from the last film that I hadn't got in. And I was like, could be there. And then James made that cool shot, and I love those moments where we've got the song idea and then the video comes back, because I'm not on set, so I don't see them doing it, and James manages to lift the song higher, with the video. It's great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody.